I'm going to tell y'all a story and put a disclaimer out there right now before I even get started about it. That this one is about some self discontinuing and some hauntings that take place in Owensboro, Kentucky. The Trinity Episcopal Church was built in 1875, and this place is the oldest brick church in Owensboro. It's also the oldest example of Gothic architecture in western Kentucky. The city acquired the church in 1972, and then the mayor, which was Mayor Taylor at the time, donated it in 1973 to the Theater Workshop. And in 1999, they renovated the place to make it more adequate for plays. And now we're going to get to the legend. Now, back when the church was at its beginning, in its prime, there was a major double tragedy that happened. And it all took place because a girl fell in love with a boy. The priest had a beautiful daughter, and she had fallen in love with another man from town. Well, she was gung ho about being with this man, so she was going to go tell her daddy all about it and beg for his permission to date her. So she approached her dad and was like, "Hey, Dad, listen, I met this guy. I really am in love with him. He's great for me. I want to be with him," so on and so forth. And her dad looked at her. He was like, "Mm-mm. He is a bad apple. You cannot even be with him. Don't even think about it. Go on, be with somebody else. Let's find somebody else for you. But no, that absolutely not. He is not the kind of man I want my daughter to be with." And she turned around and left the room extremely upset. Well, a few weeks went by, and needless to say, old girl didn't stop seeing old boy. And then she had to go back and tell her daddy what happened, because she had evidence that she didn't quit seeing that boy. She walked into the room and she said, "Dad, I'm expecting." And before the last breath left her lips, he was already spouting off about, "Get out of my house. How could you? How dare you? This was not what we wanted for you. Get out. I disown you." And she left crying hysterically. So he just immediately disowned her over it. Back in those times, if you were expecting out of wedlock, it was extremely frowned upon, and women sometimes felt like there was only one option out. So she went right here to this church and climbed herself all the way up to that bell tower. And when she got to the top, she noticed that there was the rope that went to the bell. And she took that rope, and that's when she lost her life. The next morning, her father was coming back to church that he was preaching at, and he went up to the bell tower and he found her there. She was dangling. Well, he was overwhelmed with guilt and strife and sadness, because he knew that was his fault, because of the words that left his mouth, that he didn't support his daughter, that he just pushed her out the door to fend for herself instead of loving her like he should have. In the grief and the guilt, he walked down to the basement, and he took her, and now it said that both the spirits are restless and have not moved on. And this right here was the steps that take you to the basement. And this area right here is where he had found his daughter, right from the octagon shape. With the self-discontinuings, there are hauntings all in this building, and possibly more spirits than just the two. It said to this very day, people can still hear that church bell ringing in the belfry when there's no bell and hasn't been for years. Now, the basement is extremely active. People have said to have been pushed when they're walking down the stairs or up the stairs, or even the basement area itself. The basement doors are known to open and shut, like someone is coming in or they are leaving. One event happened when an exterminator was spraying for bugs down there, and he left his assistant upstairs working, and he came up mad as sin, because the lights were flickering on and off the whole time he was down there for no reason. And he was so mad because he thought his assistant did it, but his assistant was nowhere near the light switches. The green room is also said to be haunted, and that's the place where, the actors hang out before and after the show and during. They said that they'll be in there playing cards or talking, or, just eating and drinking as the play proceeds. And sometimes the door to the outside, that is a very heavy door, will open, and you'll see that door open, and then the basement door opens and shuts. And then it'll come back through, opens the basement door and opens the door outside, and it shuts. Apparently back in the dressing room there is a bathroom, and the water will turn on by itself in there for absolutely no reason when nobody's even there. People have reported seeing props get moved or seeing shadow figures walking around this place. On top of that, there are two different paranormal investigative teams that have caught the same EVP. And what does this EVP say? Well, it's of an old man, and the old man says, I came with a chair. What chair? Oh, a chair that he passed away in that was donated to the venue. Have you ever been to the theater workshop of Owensboro, Kentucky? Well, I'd love to know about it. Have you had an experience there yourself? Tell me more. And y'all, you know what to do. And don't forget to follow me for more paranormal stories.